Right, so it's Derby weekend, a very exciting time to be a chef in Kentucky. It's always neat when the whole country is looking at Kentucky, not only from a horse racing standpoint, from a cultural standpoint. It's probably the one time a year everybody hears my old Kentucky home, and they see the bluegrass and all of Kentucky really in its finest form. And so what we wanted to do was create an event centered around Kentucky cuisine and maybe start this difficult process of defining what is Kentucky cuisine.
So what is Kentucky cuisine?
It's a great question. I talk for hours about it, and I think you really have to start with the romantic old idea of what Kentucky cuisine was back when we were an agrarian society. I think right off the bat, people always say country ham and fried green tomatoes and corn, and stuff like that still holds true to a certain extent. I mean, there are plenty of farmers here that still hang hams in their barn. My question is, how many people eat that food on a regular basis still? I eat fried green tomatoes probably 2 to 3 times a year. I eat country ham at the very most twice a year. I eat tacos every week. I eat Indian food 3 times a month. So my argument is, not only do we not need to romanticize those things, but we need to keep evolving that idea also.
But how often do you eat barbecue?
Barbecue, I would say twice a month.
Okay, so barbecue, Hispanic food, we've got Indian food. Do you eat Asian?
Yeah, absolutely.
So is that now Kentucky's food, the kind of cornucopia of people who've come to the state, who've made it their home over time? That's Kentucky food? Are we losing do you think the burgoo culture has been lost, or is it just because we're in Bowling Green and not, both of us lived in Lexington?
Right.
Burgoo is on more menus there.
Right.
Oddly enough, there's a lot of Cajun food on the menus because of the people who came from the horse track.
Yep.
So do we lose that because we're almost disconnected by E-Town, anything on that little split? We are disconnected from Louisville, right. Lexington, all that.
I don't think you ever lose anything per se. I mean, people will always have this very romantic idea of things from their past, and they'll want to honor it through meals and experiences. I think what we've got is we've got growth, and so I talk a lot about honoring the past while embracing the future. And so it's taking these ideas, like this weekend we're doing a smoked salmon gyro, and the base of it is a Benedictine tzatziki. And so you take Benedictine, which is this very old southern Kentucky dish, basically cucumbers and cream cheese whipped together, and then you evolve it into, what would that be now? Well, probably tzatziki. What's tzatziki going? It goes on a gyro. What could our meat be on that? And for us, it's smoked salmon, because there's this guy named Louis Shuckman in Louisville that makes the most delicious smoked fish you've ever had, and he's in Louisville, Kentucky. And so now that is Kentucky food to me.
And something we talked about yesterday, is it also that we don't eat the ham and everything else because that's our culture? Much like you ask a guy who might be a Mexican guy or an El Salvadorian guy, go, hey, what restaurant do you go to? And they don't know because they don't eat out that kind of food, because let's be honest, they can cook it better at home.
Right.
Do you think that's the case with us not eating the typical traditional? I'm pretty sure you eat more country ham with your mom.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, country ham is not a restaurant dish per se. And you can definitely go places for breakfast and get a fried piece of country ham. But like you said, we're used to country hams. You buy a whole ham and your mom cooks it on Easter Sunday, and then for 3 days you eat the leftover at that ham. And so as we eat out more and more, that's part of the change in the dynamic of how we're eating, because you're not going to eat those intricate, a country ham takes 24 hours to cook. For restaurants, that's just not really practical. And so definitely the evolution of eating out has changed it.
And I think the interstate and highways has also changed that we don't have community foods now. It's more open to whatever.
Yep.
What would you, if someone said, what are the 3 dishes that are Kentuckian?
3 dishes that are Kentuckian. I think that's too hard to define, just because of the regionality of Kentucky.
Well, do you have 2 that you think of right away? Because like pepperoni rolls, we talk about as a West Virginia thing.
Yeah.
I would put in something that I don't know if you've had or not, is chocolate gravy is a very Appalachian, not Kentucky general,
right,
but Appalachian one. We both lived in Maysville, Kentucky. Transparent pie's big there.
Yep.
You've got the brain whatever thing up in Owensboro, plus their You know, they have a different kind of barbecue. What would you say would be Bowling Green's?
Bowling Green. People laugh, and it may be a little bit ridiculous, but I love embracing the culture here, and something I think is very unique, and I can bring my friends even from cities like Chicago and stuff when they come here, pupusas, and I know it sounds crazy, but Bowling Green has really endorsed this idea of they're basically fluffy tortillas from El Salvador. I love the cheese one. Chelsea loves the cheese and bean one. They're served with this most delicious fermented slaw. And so I would make an argument for a pupusa, and I also think of just the staples. I mean, people grew up on the Ish Special, which is chicken, cheese, and rice at a Mexican restaurant. I think of Shogun, and most of the community eats Shogun on a normal basis and cover it in that delicious white sauce. I think of dishes like that have kind of come to define Bowling Green.
Do people really like rice, or do they just like the sauce at Shogun?
I think they like everything at Shogun. That's why Ronnie makes so much money.
All right, so this weekend though, what are we having?
Yeah, so this weekend we kind of wanted to do this menu, like I said, embraces the past while looking towards the future. And so we've got a lot of stuff. We've got a Kentucky Hot Brown, and that one there's no tricks or gimmick on. It's paying homage to Kentucky's past and Louisville's past from the Brown Hotel. We are doing that salmon gyro that I mentioned. We're doing a beer cheese and smoked sausage pizza. And one of the dishes I'm most excited about is called a white ramp pizza. And basically we looked at Eastern Kentucky and that region. Well, who lived in that region? It was the coal miners. Who were the coal miners? They were Italians. If they were alive today and had access to all of these ingredients that we now have access to, what would they probably make? And what we came up with was this ramp pizza. Ramps, if you're not familiar with them, are a wild leek. They grow naturally throughout the Appalachian Mountains, but they pretty much only grow there. There are some farmers here that experiment with them, but they only grow there. Super oniony, garlicky, one of my very favorite ingredients in the world. We go back to West Virginia every year to get a bunch, and so we're excited about those. And so it's an olive oil, fresh mozzarella, those wild leeks, and that's it.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Look forward to it this weekend, Josh.
Thank you.